they're gone. So if you want a single ticket, or if your company or organization wants to sponsor a table, move swiftly and get to KBLA1580.com right now. All these comedy giants in one room on one stage at the same time? Stop it! This event is going to sell out quicker than right now and sooner than at once. KBLA Talk 1580's annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. It's gonna be legendary, just like them.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
You got to laugh the pain away.
You could say it was a good day, at least a little better than the day in Baltimore. Does anybody hear us pray for Michael Brown or Freddie Gray? Peace is more than the absence of war.
KBLA Talk 1580, welcoming in an LA-based journalist. She specializes in culture, civil rights, criminal justice, and human interest stories. She wrote the very first history of the deputy gangs inside the LA County Sheriff's Department. She also created, produced, and hosted A Tradition of Violence, which is a podcast detailing the history and criminal activity of deputy gangs. She got, for that work, the 2022 International Women in Media Foundation's Courage Award, the American Journalism Online Award for the Best Use of Public Records, and the American Mosaic Journalism Prize. Cerise Castle, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you for tapping in. I know you got a lot on your plate. And, you know, it's interesting. I was thinking about this. Usually in the 7 o'clock hour, we talk about national and in politics and important topics. And we do more of a sort of a profile in my last hour. But I feel like, you know, we've all seen your work, but we don't know as much about you. So if you don't mind, I would like to talk a little about you, at least at first.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. So, I mean, really the way I read your work, and your bio doesn't say this, but I feel like you're an investigative journalist. You don't just, I'll go cover a story, ask a few questions, and then write something up. You really, like that award says, use of public records, right? You really dig a little deeper. And I'm wondering, is that how you were as a kid? Is that something, how did you connect to that part of yourself?
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot, over the past couple of years as I've really gotten into investigative journalism and made that the focus of my work. I always have been very inquisitive, yes, and I think that my draw to investigative journalism comes from, as a child, just trying to find answers to a lot of issues and problems that were apparent in my life and not readily finding those answers or solutions and wanting to figure that out. For example, with the deputy gangs, I was going to elementary school in the late 1990s. This is when the DARE program was in the public schools. They
Oh,
were bringing
wow.
in police officers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. And, we remember this is a program that brought in police officers and sheriff's deputies to the classroom to speak directly to children and tell them about not joining gangs because, it would lead them down a path of, negativity. And I remember vividly having sheriff's deputies come to my classroom, and while that was happening after they left, teachers, other students, parents, my older brother would say, did you know that those sheriff's deputies are actually in a gang themselves? And those two things, it's funny and it's completely incongruous.
Yeah, it's completely incongruous and says a lot about your teachers and the adults that were around you too.
Yes. And, shout out to them for being honest with those kids and presenting those two conflicting pieces of information. It really just drew me in. I wanted to know, how could these two things be possible? How can both of these things coexist together? And that was a question that stayed with me for a very long time until I was able to sit down and start investigating that.
Yeah. And that stayed with you for a very long time because obviously you were when this piece came into the forefront, or a series of pieces, it's far removed from you in elementary school in the 90s.
Absolutely. Far removed, but those memories, they stay with you. And the things, our childhood experiences can really, plot the path for our futures in ways that we never really expect them to.
Yeah. Well, I know just from, my work in media that being an investigative journalist is hard. It's a skill set. It's probably the toughest aspect of journalism, I think. But you seem to really love it.
I love investigative journalism, and in speaking with younger journalists, I really encourage them to put a little bit of investigative journalism in everything that they're doing. It's something that I think is really missing from modern journalism.
Yes.
Is practicing that, simple fact-checking. When somebody gives you a statement, going and making sure that it is what it is. I think we see a lot of this in mainstream journalism, just parroting the talking points of law enforcement agencies, for example. I think we see some really glaring examples of that today with the Department of Homeland Security, which is so frequently putting out narratives, not just on social media and in their public statements, but narratives in federal court that very often are lies and fairy tales, and that can easily be disproven by some basic fact-finding. And I think right now that sense of investigative journalism, always checking everything out, always getting the receipts, is crucial.
Yeah, I agree with that. And honestly, I think regular people have to start doing it too, who aren't journalists.
Yes.
Because there's so much lying going on by our politicians, particularly in Washington, but others too, and also on social media presenting itself as fact, and also by, to your point, mainstream journalists who just don't fact check. They just, if he says it's a goat, they say it's a goat, even though you can clearly see it's a cow.
Yeah, it's something that I think is unfortunate. I think there are different factors that play a role in it. It's not a secret that we're seeing a systematic dismantling of so many local newspapers. So many journalists are out of work, and so many journalists are being asked to do the jobs of 4, 5, 6 people. And when that happens, this stuff that is so fundamental, it can so often go by the wayside. That's when you see papers just printing press releases as stories instead of, dedicating time, resources to actually go out and do the reporting. It's also some journalists, some people are in these positions marketing themselves as journalists when that's not what they're doing. They might be, commentators, for example. It's just important to know where your information is coming from, checking out that information, and making sure the people you're relying on for that information are, journalists and holding to the standards that make a journalist, fact-checking, operating under, a guideline of ethics, that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's for some journalists, I feel like it's similar to prosecutors in that they rely on the cops to give them access to certain things, or to give them commentary, quotes. So they're not going to push very hard because they feel there's that sort of codependent relationship.
Yeah, and that's something that really bothers me as someone working in the field, giving people a pass when you know that they've done wrong so you can keep up that access. And I think that folks like me have disproven that you don't need a cordial relationship with law enforcement agencies to get these stories and to put the information out there. I don't think there's any love lost between me and the sheriff's department, for example. But, I continue to cover them, and I continue to put the information out there. I don't think they've, ever, they're not going to invite me for a ride-along anytime soon, but it's still possible for me to report those stories.
Yeah, but, I mean, how high of a price do you pay for that, Cerise? I feel like, I don't know, because you're not somebody that's on social media crying about it, but we did see, former Sheriff Villanueva actually targeting you in a public meeting, which was terrifying to me. How much of a price do you pay for your clear-eyed lens with law enforcement?
Yeah, it's something that has changed my life tremendously, and something that I'm still reckoning with every day. I put out a story a couple of years ago about all of the surveillance that I was put under by the sheriff's department that is likely still ongoing as a result of my reporting. From the first day that I sent a comment request to the sheriff's department about my reporting on the deputy gangs, instructions went out to assign crime analysts to me to monitor everything that I put on the internet. I found out that my information was sent to the unit that monitors license plates. And, I don't think it's a coincidence. And I don't think it's a coincidence that after that, I began being pulled over at a very frequent rate. I don't think it's a coincidence that, this is a story that I'm still very disturbed by, and I carry a lot of guilt for. I met with a witness, a 16-year-old boy who was a witness to the sheriff's department disappearing a man by the name of Francisco Nunez, beloved father, who was last seen in the custody of sheriff's deputies, and he turned up dead 5 days later in that exact spot. Sheriff's department claims that they never had Francisco in custody, even though I spoke to a dozen witnesses who saw him being taken in. One of those witnesses was that 16-year-old boy. And after speaking to him, he was shot by a sheriff's deputy after my story was published.
Wow.
And it's hard for me to believe that was a complete coincidence. So it's not just myself, but it's people that are associated with me. I've had friends that have experienced similar things just by the virtue of, being tagged in a photo with me on social media. They're seeing sheriff's deputies watching their Instagram story, pulling up to their work. It's something that has really changed how I live my life, and not just for me, but for the people around me that I care about.
Cerise Castle is my guest. She's an investigative journalist. She's done some powerful work, continues to do powerful work every single day. We'll continue the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Hi, I'm Tavish Smiley. You may have heard me talk about the new course I'm teaching, The Art of Conversation. Well, it's here, and I'm holding a live, free preview session on January 26th at 6 p.m. Pacific. Here's why this matters. For almost 40 years, I've made my living having conversations that count. Presidents, activists, artists, people who've changed the world. And I've learned something in the process. Most folk have no idea how to ask a real question, how to listen, how to create a moment. Whether you're building a business, leading a team, hosting a podcast, or just want to connect better, this changes how you show up. It's free, it's live, and I might have a surprise guest joining us. Here's what you do. Go to TavishTalks.com. That's TavishTalks.com. Scan the QR code, click the registration link, and you're in. It's January 26th, 6 p.m. Pacific. I'm keeping this intimate. Don't miss it. I'll see you in class. The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
It does. It continues right now. I'm talking with journalist Cerise Castle. She is truly an investigative journalist. I say that with the most respect ever, because that is hard work. She's also produced and hosted segments for the Emmy Award-winning nightly news program, Vice News Tonight, NPR, and nationally, their nationally syndicated radio program Marketplace, among her other prolific work. And just talking about what it takes to do that, I remember we had recorded a videotape. This is many years ago. Well, it was like 2003 or so, of cops beating up a kid or handling roughly, I should say. I don't know if they really beat him up. They handled him pretty roughly up at, here in South LA. And the word got out that I had this video, and everybody started going crazy. I have the cop's lawyers, the internal affairs, his friends inside the department. It was just, at the time I was with child, it was just overwhelming. And I've seen similar with my dad, but my dad and mom are activists. It's different than just being a journalist and doing your job. They're actually organizing to make changes in those departments. And it's not for the weak. It really isn't. Mm-hmm. How do you stay brave?
Oh, gosh. I take it day by day. Some days are easier than others. Some days I'm more afraid than others. It's something that I'm learning how to navigate. And it's something that changes. I have seen the surveillance that happens to me. It seems like it's gone up. At least in the things that they've done are definitely scaring me more. In the past 2 years, I've had employees of the sheriff's department show up at my home.
Whoa!
Which, yeah, it's scary. If you don't feel safe in your house, it's not a good headspace to be in. And some days it's easier to carry that than others. Some days I'm completely terrified. Other days it is easier to be brave. I found a lot of guidance and encouragement reading about leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King, for example, someone who had his house bombed and went back and continued doing what he was doing. These are the consequences that we face for speaking truth to power and demanding accountability. It has its prices, but at the end of the day, one thing that I remain resolute in is the impact that I've been able to have, maybe not on the system itself, but for individual lives. I've helped families, find information about people that have killed their loved ones. Some of that information has helped them in, legal pursuits that they've taken against the department. And knowing that I've been able to help, one family, two families, however many families, and knowing that my work made a difference for them, those are the things that I really meditate on when it's one of those bad days.
I would add, Cerise Castle, that you have changed public perception and understanding, whereas before they could kind of just dismiss it as, oh, that's just, radical people making accusations that there are gangs in the sheriff department. By you doing those deep dives and getting receipts, you've changed the public perception. I think you've put journalists on notice as far as being more thorough. And for those of us who are also, opinion journalists, who also are whatever you call it, commentators, talk radio people, it's emboldening because this is what I suspected. This is what I've seen with my eyes at protests and other things. And now here's someone with the receipts to back it up. That is so important. I can't commend you enough for the work that you've done.
I really appreciate that deeply. Hearing that from you, from community members, and hearing that, I've made a difference in people's lives, like that's really why I continue to do the work.
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably more, I'm almost 100% sure it's way more than what you think.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm almost 100%. Is you're comforting yourself however you comfort yourself, and folks are taking the ball and running with it, talking about, okay, well, now that we know this, maybe we can learn this, and that those are game changers. They're conversation changers, and they probably, they say it's impossible to document a crime that you stopped, right? One that didn't happen. You can't document it. There's no proof unless, the person had the gun pointing at someone's face. Usually we don't know. But I'm quite sure that the community scrutiny has also stopped some crimes that otherwise would have happened by rogue gang members. That, probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's huge too.
Yes, seeing what the community has been able to do with my reporting is inspiring. I put the reporting out there, but it was really the community that, made sure people heard about it and knew about it. Starting the hashtag Google LASD gangs, making it a rallying cry at protests. That was all the community. I didn't have anything to do with that. I can do the work, but it's really the community and the activists that brought it to life and continue to deliver that message to the public.
Yeah. And you're not you're not done, right? Some people would say, okay, I wrote the article. I'm not Gary Webb. I'm getting off this. I'm going to go write about, gardening or something. But you actually have a book coming out, right?
I do have a book coming out, yes. And my book is taking what I've learned over the past 5 years since publishing that initial article and expanding upon it. The deputy gangs didn't go away when I wrote the article. New deputy gangs have been informed since I wrote that series and did that podcast. And the violence is continuing. We're barely halfway through January, and the sheriff's department has already shot somebody this month. We've already seen a number of deaths inside of Men's Central Jail. These conditions that the deputy gangs are thriving under continue to persist, and they continue to exploit those conditions to carry out their campaign of violence and brutality against the Black and brown residents of Los Angeles County. And, it's an issue that unfortunately has not gone away, but, I'm not going away either, and I'm going to continue to cover this and, scream about this from the mountaintops as long as I'm able.
When might we see this book? Do you know?
I believe we're slated for early next year.
Okay. All right. Well, you'll have to definitely come back if we don't talk to you before then. We're up against news, traffic, and sports, so maybe you'll talk about this on the other side. But something that you said really jumped out at me, which is that it's gotten more intense or worse in the past 2 years. We voted out Sheriff Villanueva partly because of your work, partly because people became more and more aware of deputy gangs, and his behavior certainly seemed to track with that whole revelation. So, I want to talk about the question of why, if anything that you are working on or seeing or experiencing is also coloring your view of the upcoming sheriff's race. That and more with Cerise Castle coming up after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The Border Patrol chief says Minneapolis protests are escalating because local police aren't cooperating with ICE. Greg Bovino claims Minnesota Democrats are blocking officers from helping, unlike in Illinois, where he says police worked with ICE.
Anytime we can work with the state and local, as we did somewhat in Illinois and other places, that's always success for all of us.
Protests continue. The search continues for Black 25-year-old Marissa Carmichael, missing from Greensboro, North Carolina since 2024. She vanished after calling 911 to report a gas station robbery and getting into a vehicle. Her family says she didn't leave willingly, and investigators urge anyone with info to come forward. And a Black woman from Orlando, Florida, Ty Henson, is out thousands after her fiancé died and a wedding venue refused the refund, suggesting a memorial instead. A GoFundMe is helping cover the costs. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The best story in the NBA right now is the Clippers. They won their 6th straight game Monday with a 110-106 win at Washington. The Clippers were part of 9 day games on the NBA schedule Monday that celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. 36 points and 9 assists for James Harden. The Clippers are 13-2 since December 20th. They've improved to 19-23 and have moved into 10th place in the Western Conference, the final playoff spot in the West. Major props to Clippers coach Ty Lue and his staff for keeping the team above water during some tough times. The Clippers go for 7 straight tonight in Chicago. The Lakers begin an 8-game road trip tonight in Denver. Congratulations to Indiana University. For the first time in the school's 106-year history, they are national champions in football. Indiana beat Miami Monday night 27-21 to cap a 16-0 season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Cerise Castle is my guest. She is a journalist. She's also a professor. You might not know. She is a research associate at the University of Chicago and working on her book. Cerise Castle, before news, traffic, and sports, I asked you about your comment that things have gotten worse or have escalated over the past couple of years in terms of the harassment of you and surveillance of you by the LASD. I would have thought intuitively, it would have seemed like it should go the opposite way. We got rid of Villanueva, got a seemingly more mainstream leader to that department. What do you make of that, and what do you read into it, if anything, for this sheriff's election that we have coming up?
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that, getting rid of Villanueva would take a tremendous step forward as far as accountability in the sheriff's department. But what we've seen in the past few years since Villanueva's departure is a systematic disassembly of accountability processes for the sheriff's department. The Civilian Oversight Commission, which oversees the sheriff's department, the county has chased out 2 of the founding members of that Civilian Oversight Commission. And the county was upset that for the first commissioner, that he submitted a letter basically laying out some of the abuses that the sheriff's department had engaged in as far as it pertained to the prosecution of another oversight official. A second oversight commissioner was informed by a member of the Board of Supervisors that his term was up and that they would not be renewing it. And in doing that, they handicapped this commission when they were really on the precipice of making some real change and putting some real, progress in place insofar as looking at these issues, insofar as, being able to see unredacted documents that detailed some of the abuses and some of the cases that have made headlines over the past couple of years. I'm speaking of the Andres Guardado case, for example. The killing of A.J. Weber is another. So that's huge. The fact that we're seeing the county really work so hard to do away with oversight is one thing that has given me, it really disturbs me, to be frank. The sheriff's department has continued to obfuscate information. The inspector general, for example, they send officers anytime that there is a deputy shooting. The inspector general sends representatives to make sure that the crime scene is being handled appropriately, that all evidence is being, handled the right way. The sheriff's department has stopped allowing those officials to monitor them when they're processing these deputy shootings. That's a huge red flag. The Office of Constitutional Policing, they do not have people working there right now. The office is empty.
That's crazy.
Another huge one is Robert Luna, and we kind of knew this was coming. Robert Luna's one of the first things he did was installing April Tardy as undersheriff. I think perhaps something that played a factor in that was the fact that when Robert Luna was running, one of the criticisms he consistently got on the campaign trail was that there had not been a black woman promoted in the Long Beach Police Department, where he came from. In its entire history, there were no black women above entry level at the Long Beach Police Department, and that was a criticism he faced consistently on the campaign trail. So when he won the position of sheriff in our election, one of the first things he did was promote April Tardy, a black woman, to be his undersheriff. She is the first black woman to have that position in county history, which, is very well and good. I am all for progress, but it's also important to note that April Tardy has admitted that she has a tattoo that deputies have told me is affiliated with a deputy gang. And this is something that April Tardy freely admitted to me in an interview. Yes, I do have this tattoo. Yes, this is something that Sheriff Luna knew about when he promoted me. And that, to me, says a lot. And she's not the only one that we know has one of these tattoos that has been promoted since Sheriff Luna took office. So, you can campaign all you want and say, hey, I'm going to get rid of deputy gangs. But when you get into office and you start promoting these people, that's sending a completely different message and is not really compatible action with what he campaigned on.
Well, just listening to you speak and talking about the county backing off of oversight, which I have been tracking, the way they are just creating chaos in the Civilian Oversight Commission. But it occurs to me that maybe that some of that oversight was the result of Villanueva becoming a nightmare for so many of the board of supervisors, to where they may have been inspired to get more oversight of him. And now that we're back to a more business as usual model, perhaps they've backed off it. Of course, I'm speculating, but it certainly tracks.
I think that people, Villanueva it was very easy to see that something was wrong with Villanueva. He was loud. He was unabashed about it. And he was a lot like Trump in many ways. He had no problem saying his point of view and what he thought, no matter how incompatible it was with the truth and reality. And what we've seen is a return to, as you said, politic as usual. And in that politics, I think there is, there's a lot more room for things to be insidious when people aren't loud-mouthing the dirt that they're doing. And I think that that's what we've seen in the sheriff's department. We haven't seen, headlines in the Los Angeles Times about oversight officials being kept out of the scenes of deputy shootings, which we know, frequently occur because deputies are trying to make their bones for a gang. A lot of these gangs, you need to kill somebody to get in. And the fact that they're not allowing oversight officials to be part of that investigation, it's not good. This is not the kind of progress. That's not progress. That's really moving backwards.
Yeah. It's frustrating, but it's also not surprising. So I know that. I mean, I don't know how you see real progress, how we see real progress from inside. It feels like it has to come from outside. But I'm wondering if the increased scrutiny on yourself or anything you've been reporting since Luna has taken over could inform our perspective of what we're faced with, what our choices are facing us in the sheriff's election.
I think this isn't an easy topic to tackle. It's the sheriff's department. It's a behemoth, and this issue, it's been going on for at least the past 60 years. These deputy gangs, and when we're talking about police brutality, that's something that's been going on since the invention of police as slave patrol and slave catchers. It's a massive issue, and I think it can be discouraging. Certainly, I've found it discouraging to see progress be made and have it so quickly taken away. But that doesn't mean that we can't stop the scrutiny, that we can't stop being, informed voters, paying attention to these issues. With the sheriff's department, I think people, after we got Villanueva out, patted themselves on the back and said, okay, job well done. We can go away from this now and on to the next thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And I think we've seen some of the consequences of that by people focusing attention elsewhere. We've seen some of this backsliding of the sheriff's department. So I hope that, current events going on, the ongoing presence of federal officers in the street, sometimes appearing to work in concert with these sheriff's officials, LAPD, I hope that encourages people to pay attention not just to what ICE is doing, but what their, local police officers are doing. I think it's also important to say that a lot of the tactics that we are seeing being used by these Department of Homeland Security officers were pioneered by the Sheriff's Department and LAPD. I hope that all of this encourages people to focus on local politics, local agencies, and hold these officials accountable. Unfortunately, we've seen what happens when we're not paying attention.
Yeah.
And we really need to be paying attention all the time and holding their feet to the fire. It's not an easy problem. It's not something that's going to be tackled, in a year or 2 years in one administration. It's constant work, and it moves probably at about the speed of, water carving out the Grand Canyon. It is a long haul. But we need to be in it for the long haul too, because it's our future. It's our children's future.
Yeah. We're talking with Cerise Castle. She is a researcher, an investigative journalist, and an award-winning media person, KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. SMP volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an SMP open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caSMPvolunteer.org.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, KBLA delegation, you know what's better than laughing? Laughing while celebrating the legends who made us laugh in the first place. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to present our annual Black History Month luncheon. And this year, we're honoring comedy greats, trailblazers who broke barriers, and funny bones at the same time.
You had to grow up early when we was growing up because your parents were sent to the store to buy. You was too young to buy. I want you to go to the store, get me a fifth of gin and a pack of cigarettes. Mama, I'm two. They ain't gonna let me have that. Here, take this note. You be a little boy walking down the street with liquor and cigarettes. And your neighbors be going, that's a good little boy right there.
We need a little levity right about now. So we're rolling out the red carpet for comedy royalty. D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Lunel, Dion Cole, Martin Lawrence, and a surprise guest appearance. It's going up Thursday, February 26th in downtown LA at the Grammy Museum. An unforgettable afternoon of stories, celebration, and yes, plenty of laughs, because let's be real, these legends don't just tell jokes. They have changed the game, opened doors, and made history while making us smile.
You gotta go to child support court. You gotta get there real early in the morning. You see brothers going into court. You see them come out 3 hours later. I can't pay this. Let me talk to you, baby. Please, let me talk to the witness, Your Honor. Let me talk to the witness. Brother be working for 3 weeks, get his check, is $43.
This year, for the first time ever, we have set aside a limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon. They are going to go fast, and when they're gone, they're gone. So, if you want a single ticket, or if your company or organization wants to sponsor a table, move swiftly and get to KBLA1580.com right now. All these comedy giants in one room on one stage at the same time? Stop it! This event is going to sell out quicker than right now and sooner than at once. KBLA Talk 1580's annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. It's gonna be legendary, just like them.
What's up? What's up? What's up? You got to laugh the pain away.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
Cerise Castle is my guest. Still got a bunch of questions left, so I'm going to try to squeeze them in to our last few minutes here, Cerise. Yeah, we have folks in our KBLA comment section on YouTube asking about, I know that you had a dust up with a local, we'll call it a local public radio station, and kind of call them out for racism, resulted in an investigation. I believe you did get an apology, right? No?
Not so much. Not so much, unfortunately, no.
Oh.
I did not get an official apology, but I do feel vindicated because everyone that I called out in that letter, speaking to the racism, homophobia that I experienced, is no longer at that station. They did not cite my concerns as the reasons for their various dismissals, but they were dismissed nonetheless, and that is something that I feel some vindication over.
And I'm imagining the many awards and such also provide some vindication.
Absolutely.
What do they say? The best success is the best revenge. Also, if I remember correctly, it's kind of hazy in my mind, but I feel like there was a bunch of folks that subsequently ended up calling out the same situation and leaving.
Yes. Yeah, it was not just my experience. There were several other Black journalists that had very similar treatment at the same place. And I know that they have hired a DEI consultant subsequently since. I know that they have, ongoing conversations about to address some of the things that, I brought up. None of that, of course, mentions me or the role I played in that. But, it was never about me. It was about what was happening systemically at that place. And I am happy that there have been steps taken to address that.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a whole show on that. We won't, but there's pay issues and other issues as well. And where are we with the Knock LA ground game situation?
We are in federal court. We are fighting. Ground Game LA still continues to display my work on their website in violation of copyright law. And I am fighting in federal court to have that removed from their website. I am extremely bothered that a so-called political nonprofit run by white people that are not from Los Angeles are continuing to profit off of the work of a Black reporter who literally, I risked my life to do that reporting, and they are, continuing to make money and fundraise off of that reporting, and I am not seeing a dime of it, and they are doing that in violation of federal copyright law, and I'm confident that we will win in federal court.
Wow. So those that Knock LA continues to be controlled by the nonprofit Ground Game, and those journalists who raised issues are now on the outs.
That is correct. All of the reporting that people came to know and love from Knock LA, we were all thrown out without any warning, without any ceremony by Ground Game LA for calling out the racism that they were perpetuating. As an organization against the journalists of Knock LA. And when we called out the fact that they were racist, when we called out the fact that they were not paying journalists for the work that we did, they removed all of our access to the website, told us that we no longer were affiliated with them, and continued to display our work on their website and make money off of it. And that is illegal. You cannot do that. We the journalists, we hold the copyrights to our work, and we are committed to fighting in federal court until we get our work back.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. It's certainly a cautionary tale for people, activists, artists, journalists who use any kind of fiscal sponsor or deal with any kind of large nonprofit, particularly those that are controlled by, I'm just keep it 100, white people, that, they may have a disproportionate amount of control over your work and your money. I may do a show on that.
Absolutely. Yes, it's worth discussing because people need to know not everyone showing up in community and claiming to be for community is really about that life, and it's unfortunate that I myself was a victim of, people saying one thing and then turning around and doing the other. But, just like the deputy gangs, I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to keep calling it out. And I'm going to keep fighting. And I know that I'm going to be successful. I know that we will be successful.
Okay, I only have a minute and a half here, but I'm going to ask two questions at once, which we're not supposed to do. But one, where are we with those photos? I find it ironic, given that we're complaining about ICE wearing masks, that these sheriffs, try to keep their official headshots away from you and then claim they weren't public record. And the other question is, how do we follow your work, and support the work that you're doing?
Thank you for both of those questions. The headshot case is, I think is really going to have a big impact on so many of the issues, as we said, as far as what's going on with the ICE officers, as far as this no secret police law. It's going to have big impact. And, it's so funny to me that they're making such a big deal about this, the sheriff's department, when in preparation for this case, I actually went through their Instagram and I was able to find over 500 examples of them posting photos of deputies and, identifying them by name. And I also mentioned that, the sheriff's department actually puts out a yearbook every year where they have all of this information readily available for people that want to pay, a couple $100 for an official sheriff's department yearbook. So the information is out there, but they do not want the public to be able to access this stuff for free, just like the deputy gang records, So I'm all about public information. I'm all about transparency. So just like with the deputy gangs, I am taking this to court, and I am committed to fighting this all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court if we have to, because this is the public's information. We pay these people. These are public officers, and we need to know what they look like. We do not have secret police in this country, and if you are a public employee, you should not be afraid to show your face, especially if you are walking around in the streets of our communities. We need to know who you are. And that case is ongoing. I expect that it will, go for a couple of years at least. And if you want to follow that work, as well as any of my other work, I am on social media. You can find me at Cerise Castle or at Your Majesty. That is a play on my last name, to be clear. I don't think I'm royalty. Just wanted to be a little cute when I made that username all those years ago. But I thank the community for the attention. I thank the community for supporting me in all of these various legal fights that I am engaged in against the sheriff's department, against people that want to co-opt my work. And thank you to you, Dominique, for having me on to speak about all these things.
Cerise Castle, thank you so much. News, traffic, and sports, then more, only right here.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The Border Patrol chief says Minneapolis protests are escalating because local police aren't cooperating with ICE. Greg Bovino claims Minnesota Democrats are blocking officers from helping, unlike in Illinois, where he says police worked with